O'Reilly. You need parts? O'Reilly Auto Parts has parts. Need them fast? We've got fast. No matter what you need, we have thousands of professional parts people doing their part to make sure you have it. Product availability. Just one part that makes O'Reilly stand apart. The professional parts people.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
You ever get that feeling the walls closing in, the concrete jungle suffocating you? You crave some wide open spaces, the chance to connect with nature, maybe in a spot all your own. Well, head over to land.com. They've got ranches, forests, mountains, streams, you name it. Search by acreage. You can search by location. You can search by the kind of hunting and fishing you're dreaming of. Land.com. It is where the adventure begins. There's nothing like snook hook sets at dawn or catching a tarpon in the moonlight. Find your next fishing trip made easy on fishingbooker.com and experience the magic of the Sunshine State or any other destination on your fishing bucket list. Book a blue water adventure in search of sailfish or go snapper fishing with the kids. With over 6,000 captains and trips to choose from, planning your next one just got a whole lot easier. Download the Fishing Booker app on the Google Play or App Store, or visit them online at fishingbooker.com to book your trip today.
Hey everybody, welcome to episode number 35 of the Hunting Collective. And of course I'm Ben O'Brien, and this week we are in Bozeman, Montana on a Saturday afternoon in the MeatEater offices, the lovely brand new MeatEater offices full of plastic tables and no office furniture. And I'm hanging out with our new associate editor, Morgan Mason. And Morgan came to this company from Gear Junkie and moreover from Wakefield, Kansas, as a small town farm kid who's got a pretty badass story to tell us about joining the Army, headed to Iraq, coming back, and spending time outside. And then finally, after many years, finding his way to this company. And he'll be creating some content alongside this podcast and others for all of you. So hopefully you enjoy that. So without further ado, Morgan Mason. Morgan.
Yes, sir.
What's going on, man?
Not too much. Just packing up, getting ready to hit the road.
That's right. I like to start podcasts off with people that you like describe your surroundings. Normally, the surroundings are way more exciting than their current surroundings, but still, I think a lot of people are interested in where we are, learning about it. So give your best prose describing where we are.
We are in the Cannery District in Bozeman, Montana, in our offices.
Yeah, don't give out any addresses because people will want to come, and all the women are going to want to come.
Especially with these dogs laying around like this.
That's right. Continue.
Anyways, down here at our office, in our corner that they stuffed us in, the editorial team.
Yeah.
And just hanging out at our fancy tables.
Yeah, they are plastic tables.
Yep.
And they came probably from Target. They probably cost about $39.99 each.
Yep.
When you're a startup, that's kind of how it goes.
That's life.
Yeah, that's startup life. That's what we are. But we have two dogs sleeping.
Puppies.
Under these plastic tables. Puppies by the name of Arlo and by the name of Pinion. Pinion being the office dog.
Yep. He's claimed it.
Tell us about Pinion.
So Pinion is a wire hair pointing Griffon that I picked up in June, and he is my little bird dog amigo. So I just got him trained up, and we're going to hit the road here pretty soon and head back to my home state of Kansas and go chase birds around. And I've got his brother Arlo from the same litter that I'm dropping off with my brother. So we're going to go take these little hooligans out and chase quail around out there.
Dude, these wire hairs are just like they come in here and they just sleep.
Yeah.
And if a fucking quail wandered into this office,
shit would erupt.
It would erupt. And I wish that we were in a situation where a quail would wander in to our office.
I watched Pinion down at the front windows looking at a little Tweety bird and almost getting ready to blast through.
It's a good dog. I imagine we should talk about, because, you and I both work for this company, right? So,
Yep.
But it's early on, so we have an opportunity to shape some things. Primarily, in this case, what the office looks like, but also what's in it.
Yeah.
I have a pretty gnarly case of ADD when it comes to work. Like, I don't have ADD in any other part of my life, but then when I'm working, I always want to be doing something else. So I have ADD. But we currently have a putting green. If you go to my Instagram, you'll see a photo of it. It's very popular. Mr. Steven Ranella, founder of this whole venture, is always anti-golf. But me, I'm terrible at golf, but my brain needs a distraction.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you feel like we should, what kind of things should we build around the office to keep our minds off work?
We definitely need to get the kitchen up and running so we can tinker around with recipes.
That's right. Yep. Tune into the MeatEater platform at some point. We'll just cook shit at random times of the day. Everybody should love that. We'll be on fire.
Mm-hmm. Just hit the little switch and go live and show the debacle that's going on.
Yes. Drunken mess that it will hopefully be. Anything else? Any other awesome things that a new startup office should have?
Especially this one, we should have boatloads of taxidermy everywhere.
Yeah.
And we should probably have bows and arrows, with the arrows having little Velcro tips that we can shoot at the taxidermy for the kill shots.
That's a good point. Maybe at each other? Is that unsafe?
No, I think that's fine.
Okay, we can do that. Well, also, we were talking about having a kegerator.
Yep.
I feel like that would be good. Pretty much anything we want at this point.
Yeah.
We're lords of this tiny little domain in which we sit. But yeah, that's the MeatEater Incorporated offices. Hopefully, we'll soon have podcast studios and video areas where we can go live and show you what we're doing over here. And hopefully that shit is interesting. So you out there,
that's our job.
You out there in the internet world would want to read it or learn about it. So tell us about your position here at MeatEater Incorporated, Morgan.
So I was brought on as an assistant editor and content creator. So my job is to work with some of the individuals that we're working with and the MeatEater, so like April Vokey and others that are writing in and bringing in pieces and going through and editing those, getting ready for the web.
Yep.
And all of that. And then also looking for interesting stories and putting things together, whether it's how-tos or recipes or what have you, and whip those up for the company and just drive that website traffic and just keep looking for interesting things going on.
Yeah. See, this is at some level, I think, living the dream.
Yeah.
Because some of the things you listed aren't dream-like scenarios, but the dream-like scenario is very much that we can kind of wake up in the morning and be like, I'd like to write about that.
Mm-hmm.
And then you, dear audience out there listening, can then decide whether we're good at our jobs or completely terrible at them and that we should go away and stop bothering you with this content.
And put all those hate comments in the internet.
Yeah, you can do whatever you want on the It's a free country. But hopefully you like the things that we come up with, the crazy ideas that we spawn in this room or a room similar to it. And we keep our jobs and you guys are entertained. Yep. I think that's an easy one. But for me, as a journalist, that's pretty much a dream scenario.
Yeah, just wake up and research, find interesting things.
Yeah.
Or take off for Kansas and go round up a bunch of interesting things there.
Yeah.
So
you're leaving here tomorrow to go back to your home place.
4 a.m. pushing off.
Oh, man, that's hard. That's a
Probably going to have more coffee than booze in the cup in the morning.
Yeah, that's a hardy trip right there. How long a drive is that?
I'm going to stop 3/4 of the way down in Nebraska and do some pheasant hunting there with a buddy. And so that should only be 10.5 hours. But with the puppy stops, that might turn into about a 12-hour situation.
Yeah.
Hang out there for about 48 hours and then drop down another 4 hours down to the old quarter section family farm and chase birds with my brother.
Yeah, that's pretty cool, man.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
Do that, see if we can round up some whitetails and spend the month there just kind of whipping up content.
Yeah. Well, I think if people are going to be reading your content, they need to know what the hell, you came from Kansas. We learned that part.
Yep.
You have awesome dogs. We know that. You work here. We also know that. Tell us about your upbringing.
So I grew up out in northeastern Kansas on the edge of the Smoky Hills and the Flint Hills, on the side bordering the Flint Hills. And grew up on a quarter section farm, 166 acres, that was passed down from my great uncle. And Dad brought us up out there, brought my brother and I up, working behind bird dogs, bucking hay bales, just kind of living the little country homestead dream out there, working cattle and doing that. So did that. Grew up through high school and played ball in high school, and then shipped off for the Army shortly after. Signed in between my junior and senior year, and spent that time just kind of working through the reserve unit that I signed up for. And then
let's not go too quick. Let's go back to when you were working on the farm.
Cool.
I grew up in the suburbs where there was no farms. I mean, there were farms, but I just hunted on them. I didn't work on them. You feel like you learned anything growing up on a farm, or like you have a little bit of grit you might have not had otherwise doing those things?
Absolutely. Part of it from the farm and part of it from my dad.
Yeah. What's your dad like?
He's the kind of guy that doesn't say a whole lot, but when he does, it's very strong points.
Yeah.
He deals with people all day. He works at this little gas station mechanic shop in town, and so there's people coming in and coming out all the time. And he's just learned a way to effectively use his words to tell you to get the hell out. Or
that's usually a good dad, a good version of a dad. Kind of like that old school dad.
Yeah, very much so. But he's a good guy. He's got a soft heart, but yeah, he's a good dude.
And just one brother?
Yep, one brother, Joel.
You guys close?
Yeah, we are. We weren't so close growing up. I was kind of that asshole older brother. You know,
yeah, I had one of those.
Did you?
Yeah. How? What's the age difference?
6 years.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I was a year and a half. My brother. Yeah, we weren't really friends until we got old enough to like not be assholes to each other.
Yeah, I think he's got some emotional scars from when I like pinned him down and put baby mice down his shirt.
Yeah, I mean, everybody, listen, he's probably better off for that.
Yeah.
No, my brother used to like go online, and back when there was like AOL Instant Messenger, and I'd show up to like my freshman year of high school, and he was a junior maybe or sophomore, and I'd be going to class, and then some young lady would approach that I had no interest in dating and be like, I can't believe we're dating. I can't believe we're going out. I'm like, what? And it turns out my brother had hacked my AOL screen name and made girlfriends for me at various times.
Good for him.
Yeah. He's a lovely fellow. I admire him now. But, yeah, I mean, that's just growing up, man.
Yeah.
You're either doing the beating or
receiving it. Yeah. So, yeah, it's been awesome just developing that relationship with Joel, and coming back to it is like at the very core of our relationship, and our father's relationship with us is hunting. It's like he barely had any time to do anything because he was hustling his ass off at the gas station and then coming home and working the fields until like 10 o'clock at night. And so we didn't see him a whole lot, but when we did, it was on Sundays, and we would be walking the fields, or we'd be driving around country roads with binoculars in hands and looking for deer at first and last light. And that was just how we were brought up and ingrained. And so it's been a really cool situation once Joel and I have gotten past all that other bullshit to share this. And I'm exceptionally excited to come home and have these two bird dogs and for us to walk the fields together. It's going to be really cool.
Yeah, that's a good part of life, man. You're at a good part of life for sure, where you can kind of return to the place where, you know, having fond memories is important. Not everybody's homes gather up fond memories, but a lot of us, mine does. I'm sure yours does too. And returning to those places, especially around hunting, like I have a strong hunting bond with my dad. My brother never took it up, like just never. I think he was out partying, running around when I was up on Saturday mornings chasing deer. He was out chasing other things.
Tail.
Yeah, chasing different kinds of tail. But just never really took to it. And to this day, really doesn't have much interest in it. I think he has some interest in it because I do it. Like, he is aware that it is something. But he's also not all fully on board with the situation and like questions things all the time. Like, why would you shoot that fox, or why would you do this? And I've come to value that part of our relationship because I spend so much time in a bubble, as I'm sure you do as well. You surround yourself with people that like to do the shit you like to do. Mm-hmm. And it's nice every once in a while, for me at least, to go back and have that. But
yeah, to get those checks and balances.
So You're in high school. You played ball, football, baseball, all balls.
Pretty much everything. It was small town Kansas. We had 800 people in the town, and so it's just like, you want to play something? Here you go. Go
All
sign
balls.
up.
Yeah. And then Army. So that's a big stage of your life. Was it the Army? Correct.
Yeah, it's Army Reserves.
Army Reserves.
Yeah.
So tell me about why and how on that one.
Ooh, there's a lot of why in that one. There's a lot of family history. It's just very rich in military. So there was a big element of like my upbringing of looking back to my grandfather and my great grandfather, and just all over in our family tree there was history of the military. And so that's always something that had been on my mind, but at the same time I was also looking for opportunities because it was very much small town Kansas, not a lot of opportunities to get out, to go to college. Didn't come from a wealthy family, and tuition was not spoken for. It was figure this out, find your way. So between all of that, the just the feeling of wanting to serve and do something with my life that was meaningful, and also just creating that opportunity to break out into the world and see what I can do to give it a go.
Yeah, no, that's an impressive thing. I mean, I never had inklings of that. I don't think I would have listened had somebody told me to stand in line. I think I probably would have been kicked out pretty early on.
It was difficult. There's a lot of teeth gritting in there.
Yeah. Particularly what was hardest for you?
Yeah, just breaking, because I was just like running around like a wild child in Kansas, just running around, mashing the accelerator down on my little pickup truck everywhere I went, and just kind of running around without a cause, and then jumping in and getting that discipline. It was good for me.
Yeah. So what happens during your Army tenure? Did you go fight? Did you give me the full experience?
Yeah, so like I had mentioned, I joined in between my senior year, so I got to have a little bit of a half step in where I went to drills and kind of learned the lay of the land before jumping on full throttle. And then after I graduated, shipped off to Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri, and ran through basic training there. Did that, went down to AIT, which is Advanced Individual Training, and I was a 96 Bravo, which was an intelligence analyst. And so did that training down in Arizona and finished up with that, and then went back to Kansas to jump into college, and really had no fucking clue what I wanted to do with my life. I was still like fresh off the farm, hadn't a clue, still super green, and just did that and just kind of puttered around in school, didn't do much. And then one day I was laying around in my room, and on my little 13-inch TV screen, I watched news clips of the planes hitting the towers. Mm-hmm. And I was just like, oh shit, my life has just changed. And like, I just got goosebumps right now thinking about it. Just knowing that something was going to happen.
Yeah.
At that point in time, my life was going to be different. And sure enough, 2 years later, our unit, which was a 450th Movement Control Battalion out of Manhattan, Kansas, we got deployed, and we went basically like right behind the Marines, coming in from Kuwait into Iraq. So spent 14 months over there on our deployment, and I went from a small town Kansas boy with no clue about the world to a rude awakening of life and politics and third world country dynamics, and just running around the desert with a machine gun on my hip and learning this all. And wow.
Yeah. How old were you then?
I was 20, so I had my 21st birthday.
Jesus, man.
In Iraq.
Oh boy. And this was during the shock and awe, the initial invasion.
So we were in Fort Riley, Kansas when the shock and awe went down.
Okay.
But we were shipped out like very soon after that. So we were like in our deployment stages as the blasts were going off.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And then when give me the moment prior to any, firefights or any rounds going off that you realized shit was about to be different. Like, was it when you got on the plane to go over, or did you land and look around, or what? Like, what was the realization moment that and maybe in military training you have to be prepared for that prior?
We definitely were a little bit prepared for that. But I think it was when we were on the plane, and I think we were on a C-130 flying over. I can't remember exactly, but it was a pretty sizable plane. And as we were sitting there, we were loaded in wearing full battle rattle. So we had Kevlar helmets on, we had our flak jackets on, we were holding our 16s, and we were all sitting shoulder to shoulder on this little like 12 to 14 inch cargo strap that was on the side of the plane, like running down. And we sat there, and it was just like a complete bare airplane on the inside, and all of our gear was piled up in the middle. There's a couple Humvees in the back in the middle, and we were just sitting there for I don't even know how many, like 14 hours or something, just looking at each other in like the freezing cold as we flew over. And I was just like, oh, this is life.
Yeah. It was uncomfortable.
Yeah. So yeah, that, and then so when we dropped into Kuwait, which things weren't too crazy there. It was a very westernized base. It was very safe and secure within the base that we were staging at for deployment. But then as soon as we got the call, then we're just like, we're heading, boys. Get your stuff. Get everything ready to go. It was jump on the Humvees. And as we approached the border, that was the moment. And we approached, and there, like, the border was this big berm that was going down the line, and there were just M1 Abrams tanks, all pointed, dozens of them pointed into Iraq. And at that point in time, I was just like, holy fucking shit. Like, what are we getting into right now? And yeah, that was wild. And then I was in the convoy at the very rear, and my job was, as a saw gunner as well, to pull rear security on the convoy. So we had a lot of reports that there were attacks coming up from the rear, and it was my job to make sure that nobody came up and got after us. So I had a saw, an M249, hanging out the back of the Humvee and just pointed backwards down the road, making sure we didn't get hit. So I chewed on a lot of dust that day.
Yeah, I bet you did. And do you feel how long from when you crossed the border to when you fired the first round?
You know, actually, when I went over there, I never squeezed off my trigger.
Oh, really? Great.
Yeah. So I'm thankful for that, but I'm also thankful for the guys that had to do what they had to do and came back, and, you know, always thinking of the guys that didn't come back and the gals that didn't come back. But I'm very much blessed with the fact that I don't have that hanging over me.
Yeah.
That I'm not dealing with that. So
you have friends that did, or folks you know that did?
Yeah.
That's tough. Yeah, no, I think from somebody like me or a lot of people listening, you can't comprehend that. Like, there's no comprehension of that kind of stress and that environment and what that does to your perspective, let alone your mind.
Yeah, there was definitely a lot of emotions to filter through coming back after that one.
Yeah.
So
you spent how much time in combat?
Our deployment was 14 months, so we had orders for 6 months.
Yeah.
And then as soon as we got over there, before we jumped in, they're just like, oh, by the way, orders changed. We're 365 boots on ground.
Wow.
So.
Wow. And
so 2003 to 2004, we were
there the entire time?
Yeah.
And so at some point you come back home.
Yep.
And tell us about, you cycled through, you've done your time, you've done your 14 months, and then it's time to come home. What's that like?
That was wild. That was a lot to digest and filter through and marinate on, and just all the things that I saw over there, all the things that I felt over there. It was wild. It took me a long time to get through all of that. And I basically came home to Kansas, went back to Manhattan, and was just really wasn't sure what to do with my life at that point. Really didn't have any direction. I was just knowing that I needed to go through everything that I'd felt and saw and all of that and somehow figure it out. And so I was there, and then about 3 months down the line, I had a buddy came back that had moved to Colorado, and he's just like, what the hell are you still doing in Kansas? Like, let's go. So a week later, I packed up my car, and I moved outside of Breckenridge, and for the next, I'd say like 13 years, I spent my time bouncing in between Colorado and Mexico and just tried to enjoy life, just get back to happiness and getting back to a better person and figuring that out. But it was definitely a long journey along the way.
Yeah.
O'Reilly Auto Parts are in the business of keeping your car on the road. O'Reilly Auto Parts offer friendly, helpful service and the parts knowledge you need for all your maintenance and repairs. If you're confused about what part you need, like what wipers are going to be the best, what replacement headlights are going to be the best, go into O'Reilly and talk to the people that work there because they're great and they're super friendly and they'll get you squared away where you walk out knowing you got the right thing. They've got thousands of parts and accessories in stock, either in-store or online, so you never have to worry if you're in a jam. Do you need your windshield wipers replaced? You need a brake light fixed? You need some quick service? They'll help you find the right part or point you to the nearest local repair shop for help. The professional parts people at O'Reilly Auto Parts are your one-stop shop for all things auto do-it-yourself, and you can find what you need in-store or online. Stop by O'Reilly Auto Parts today or visit us at O'ReillyAuto.com/MeatEater. That's O'ReillyAuto.com/MeatEater. You ever get that feeling you're stuck inside staring at screens and a primal urge kicks in? You crave wide open spaces, fresh air, the chance to connect with the land. Well, maybe it's time to find your own piece of the wild, but searching for property can be a maze. That's where land.com comes in. They got millions of listings across the country, from mountain ranches to hidden fishing holes. Their search tools are like a seasoned guide helping you narrow down what you want. Land.com isn't just about buying and selling. It's about finding a place to hunt, fish, explore, or simply sit by a campfire and listen to the crickets. So head over to land.com today to turn one day into today, because trust me, there's nothing quite like the feeling of standing on your own piece of earth. There's nothing like snook hook sets at dawn or catching a tarpon in the moonlight. Find your next fishing trip made easy on fishingbooker.com and experience the magic of the Sunshine State or any other destination on your fishing bucket list. Book a blue water adventure in search of sailfish or go snapper fishing with the kids. With over 6,000 captains and trips to choose from, planning your next one just got a whole lot easier. Download the Fishing Booker app on the Google Play or App Store or visit them online at fishingbooker.com to book your trip today.
Are there any stories you want to tell from being over there, or you feel like would inform folks about what it was like? Like some, you don't have to tell something if you don't want to, but there might be something that I always wondered if it's even worth telling what actually happened, other than, folks understand the fog of war and they understand, violence and those types of things. But was there any seminal moments for you over there that, gave you some positive look on it, or just an overly negative look back on it?
I'd say like the one thing that stands out in my mind that like when I think back to memories over there that like it comes like first and foremost for me is we were out on a convoy and we had to go into Baghdad for this deal, and we had to go through this section called IED Alley. It was just like notorious. And like my job in the unit was an intel analyst. And so I was in charge of tracking all the attacks that happened on the highways, figuring out who was doing it, why they were doing it, and briefing that to our commander. So I was very involved in like what was going on. So we were going through the section called IED Alley, and I very much knew like the shit that went down there. It's just people were getting blown up right and left. And so we rolled through and pushed through, and we like had guns hanging out the window just waiting for something to pop off. Never did. And then about 30 minutes later, we had swung around, finished what we needed to do, and we're coming back down the other side. And there was a Humvee sitting there smoldering that had just been blown up. So meaning that we had driven over an IED and they chose not to press the trigger at that moment. And seeing like the black smoke rolling and knowing that there was people inside, soldiers inside, and like that shook me down to the core.
Yeah, I bet it did. Yeah, we had a gentleman by the name of Omar Avila. He was a sergeant in the Army on probably maybe 10 episodes ago, 7 episodes ago to the podcast. He spoke about the same thing. He was blown up in an IED attack and he lost, it may have been the same spot you're talking about, because he spoke about it in that same terminology, like IED Alley. Like this is a place where he knew that there was a lot of that going on, and he was blown up and had third-degree burns on most of his body and lost a leg and lost most of most of the fingers on both his hands, and still going through hundreds of surgeries now today. And that story, and even yours, from an outside perspective, not having been lucky enough not to go through that, but been so close to it is.
Yeah, like you feel this overwhelming amount of like thankfulness that you didn't just get blown up, but then you look and you're just like, holy shit, somebody else did. And then you just like have this weight of guilt laying on you, and it's I don't know, it's tough to describe like that feeling.
It's random.
Yeah.
The randomness of life.
Yep.
Yeah. I heard somebody try and describe that on a sports regarding like a baseball game the other day, and I thought how shallow it was. Like, just at the moment I heard it, I thought, well, anything could happen at any time, and one little thing's different, and we win the game. I thought, all right, well, that's life, though. But in those situations, those things weigh. The circumstantial,
the consequences are way heavier.
No, even the circumstantial occurrences like that, like you drive over an ID and the guy doesn't hit the button, or isn't sitting by the button, then the next guy does, and it does, and it changes in that those things change. Just not your life, but many, many, many lives.
Yep.
Just in those small decisions. So I'm glad they didn't blow you up.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, would have sucked.
Yeah,
for everybody. So you're back. You go back and you're doing Colorado and Mexico.
Yep.
You spent a lot of time outside, I imagine.
Oh yeah. So when I came back, I had kind of like bounced around a little bit trying to figure out what I was going to do, and then one New Year's Eve, I just made a little pact to myself to follow happiness and jumped into that. And then when I had first came back, I was a whitewater raft guy down in Buena Vista and Browns Canyon, and I had a hell of a time. And then I left that because we were basically surviving off of PBR and peanut butter.
Yeah.
I was like, I got to do something else.
Like every other kid that age, that's what you ought to be doing.
Yep. Sleeping out of my car down in some rancher's land out there. It was an amazing time. But I went back and got involved in the whitewater industry and was like kayaking and paddleboarding and surfing river waves and just having an absolute blast doing that. And so I chased that around for a while and ended up learning how to surf, and then going down and ended up going down to Mexico a couple times. Once lived down in San Jose del Cabo and ran a paddleboard and surf shop down there, and got to go out and surf for lunch and after work, and that was amazing. And then came back up, kicked around Colorado for a while, went back down there. Second time was amazing. I took my brother that time. I bought a camper van, and the dog that I had before, Bomber, this black lab, and we just road tripped the whole way down in this white camper van. So it's
like living the dream.
Yeah, it's like, but it was funny in this little Ford Econoline 150 or whatever, and there's like me, I'm 6 foot, about 190, my brother's 6'4", 220, and then a black lab. And we had no room in this, and we were like sleeping in there, and there's black dog hair everywhere. Every meal we're like pulling dog hair out of.
Oh yeah. That's almost like a Patagonia commercial.
Seriously.
Like a modern day, like hipster Patagonia commercial.
The funny thing about this is I watched 180 Degrees South, saw that, and I was just like, screw Colorado for a while. I'm going to Mexico.
Well, I mean, the benefit of going through, some pretty scarring events in battle, I think maybe help you find a little bit of what you were, like just go. Like there was some live in the moment, because you certainly get to realize in those situations that moments don't always last. Like every moment is precious.
Yep. There's a lot of that, and there's just like a lot of confidence of the things you can do. You go through so much that tests you mentally and physically. You're like, I'm going to go live in a van in Baja for 4 months and just wing it. And I don't know like a lick of Spanish.
No IEDs down there.
Nope.
Yeah. No, I'm pretty big on perspective for sure. And I think everybody's perspective is different, of course, based on their experiences. But there are certain experiences in your life that provide the ultimate perspective. And there's not a lot of people that have that the perspective you have, and then came out of it clean, at least physically. Yeah. Came out of it clean. And is that perspective something you still use today, daily basis?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm always trying to pursue passion and work to fulfilling just living a really good life. And just trying to live the best life I can, and staying within the realms of passion. And that that's brought me pretty much to where I am here today.
Yeah.
It's just kind of following exactly like what my heart and what my gut tells me to do, and then keep investing in myself and investing in little bearded bird dogs to run around with.
Yeah. No, so then, after that time in your life, you decided to move to Montana. And you told me just basically because you thought there was some opportunity here and you thought the hunting and fishing world was where you wanted to stake your claim. And kind of worked out for you, didn't it?
Yeah, it did. I'd left Colorado and bounced to Utah for a little bit to some fly fish guiding, and then came back and did a little whitetail hunting with my brother. And it was just kind of this deal of figuring out hunting again, because I took a lot of time off after coming back from war. Just like the whole thought and idea of killing just I wasn't in mentally in the place to get after that. So I spent a little bit of time away from it to the tune of about 10 years, and just really did some soul searching of what that meant for me before I got back into it. And I'm really glad that I did that and took my time. And it's thankful that I had that core of going around in the fields with my dad and my brother and chasing birds. And
yeah. I mean, was that the aversion to hunting during that time? Was that a visual thing, or was it just a philosophical, like, I've seen death and I don't want to participate? Or what, do you have a take on what that really was for you?
Yeah, it was the aspect of taking life that I wasn't comfortable with.
Yeah.
It was just like the whole thought of killing. Like, as soon as I thought of like killing it, like, like the crisp bodies that I saw that were like blackened and tarred up and all of that, it's just like, that's what killing brought into my head. Like, no matter if it was hunting or any sort of deal. And so it was this mental imagery that came into it. And it took a little bit of while to like filter through that and figure out what everything meant to me. And now I'm in a really good place in it.
Yeah, I'm sure that takes some time to get through.
Yeah.
It's not a small thing. I've heard a lot of veterans talk about, there's two things. One is what you're talking about, right? The killing becomes, less palatable, for lack of a better term, or the killing becomes this, this negative force in your life, and you don't want to, you want to eliminate that negative force or those things. With the second thing I've heard is that like time spent outside, the solitude of mountains, the focus and the intensity of being in the wilderness, like those types of things, the bonds that you are similar from those of your combat, your compatriots in combat are similar to those that you go outside and have adventures with. Like, was going outside still something that healed you while you were getting to the point where killing was then again okay for you?
Yeah, absolutely. That's what Colorado was for me.
Yeah.
Getting out there and just exploring the mountains and exploring some of my family roots in Western Colorado and chasing adventure out there. It was very healing for me, and it did me a lot of good to get out there and just be free and be in the mountains and have that solace.
Yeah. No, I've always struggled with that personally, as just conceptually, or just as a, kind of as an ideology of, taking veterans outside to kill things as a way to either, it's not a reward, but as a way to, distract them, or to to give them something to draw away from their negative experiences.
I think it's something to focus in on. It's like it's a mission for them. And like,
yeah.
I was very much the same way. I always needed like something I could just dive wholeheartedly into and just engulf myself in. And that's what hunting was when I was growing up. That's what the action sports that I was working on in Colorado. When you're like class 4 or class 5 kayaking, you've got to be 100% in the moment.
Yeah.
And that was a blast doing that. And then, coming back here, and now I'm in this place where I'm like creeping around in the woods and calling bulls and chasing around animals with a stick and a bow, and there's just a bow and arrow. And that's very much the same way. It's been a great journey getting to there.
Yeah. I mean, that's, if we're all lucky, we're not that far away through. We got a lot of years left, but It sounds to me like those years may have been tough, but those were important years of your life. And I think the last podcast, or one of the previous ones, we talked to Adam Greentree, and Adam had similar, he never had your experiences, but he had some traumatic experiences growing up and talked a lot about those traumatic experiences being what drives him, like what allows him not to be lazy, what provides, the drive to get things done, and his inner voice. It's like, we're just not going to quit on this because we're just not going to. Yeah. There's no option to quit.
You've got that perspective of what it looks like back there.
Yeah, it's like, I don't want to go back there. I don't have any desire to go back there. I'm not going back there. And while I'm here in the place that's better than there, I'm going to succeed, and I'm not going to accept no for any answer.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's an important perspective, and I think is lost on a lot of people in our society today. And you got it in probably not a desirable way, but you got it nonetheless,
I found it one way or another.
Yeah. I mean, I think sometimes it's very trivial that I come on this podcast and talk about, I went hunting and I learned all these things and now I'm a better person. I have perspective. I was playing. Like, it's playing. This is a playground. Sometimes you go outside. Not that it doesn't allow, when I went to Nepal or when I've gone to New Zealand and spent time outside doing very hard things, that's perspective gaining, but I'm still playing.
Yeah.
Still playing.
But it's as long as you're getting out there and you're looking for the lessons to be learned. Like, that's the big thing, instead of just taking it all for granted and just running around doing your thing.
Yeah, no, you're right about that too. No, but I think I always, in talking to guys like you and, folks like Omar Avila and even if you, in a very different way, Adam Greentree, that struggle, real struggle, inescapable struggle, like involuntary struggle.
Yeah, it's coming whether you want it or not.
It's coming whether you want it or not. It's in your face. It's just a different, if humans were mold, it's just a different, you're cut out of a different mold. You're shaped from a different thing. And you had a choice, but once you're there, you had no choice.
Yeah.
Once you were in it, you had no choice. And so, I would just say that it's something that I respect and something that, I don't wish that I had that, but I know that there's still a lot of good that comes from it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Even though that it's can be a negative force to think about, and as you look back on it, but.
O'Reilly Auto Parts are in the business of keeping your car on the road. O'Reilly Auto Parts offer friendly, helpful service and the parts knowledge you need for all your maintenance and repairs. If you're confused about what part you need, like what wipers are going to be the best, what replacement headlights are going to be the best, go into O'Reilly and talk to the people that work there, because they're great and they're super friendly, and they'll get you squared away where you walk out knowing you got the right thing. They've got thousands of parts and accessories in stock, either in-store or online, so you never have to worry if you're in a jam. Do you need your windshield wipers replaced? You need a brake light fixed? You need some quick service? They'll help you find the right part or point you to the nearest local repair shop for help. The professional parts people at O'Reilly Auto Parts are your one-stop shop for all things auto do-it-yourself, and you can find what you need in-store or online. Stop by O'Reilly Auto Parts today or visit us at O'ReillyAuto.com/MeatEater. That's O'ReillyAuto.com/MeatEater. You ever get that feeling you're stuck inside staring at screens and a primal urge kicks in? You crave wide open spaces, fresh air, the chance to connect with the land. Well, maybe it's time to find your own piece of the wild, but searching for property can be a maze. That's where Land.com comes in. They got millions of listings across the country, from mountain ranches to hidden fishing holes. Their search tools are like a seasoned guide helping you narrow down what you want. Land.com isn't just about buying and selling. It's about finding a place to hunt, fish, explore, or simply sit by a campfire and listen to the crickets. So head over to Land.com today to turn one day into today, because trust me, there's nothing quite like the feeling of standing on your own piece of earth. There's nothing like snook hook sets at dawn or catching a tarpon in the moonlight. Find your next fishing trip made easy on fishingbooker.com and experience the magic of the Sunshine State or any other destination on your fishing bucket list. Book a blue water adventure in search of sailfish or go snapper fishing with the kids. With over 6,000 captains and trips to choose from, planning your next one just got a whole lot easier. Download the Fishing Booker app on the Google Play or App Store, or visit them online at fishingbooker.com to book your trip today.
But you're here today at MeatEater Incorporated after all that shit.
Yeah. Living a pretty good life right now.
Yeah. So a couple podcasts ago, I'd say, well, it's only just not a month ago now, when we launched the company, we talked about our why. Mm-hmm. And I think we've probably covered a lot of your why already. We've kind of gotten to the why. But I think every employee of this company has, especially when something's new, you have the opportunity to really, I think you're the, 9th employee, 10th employee, something like that,
yeah. Pretty small team right now.
Yeah. We just added 2 dogs, so we have 10.
The mascots.
10 plus 2. But we have the opportunity to really get up in the morning and say, why am I doing this? Because we're not cogs in a wheel. We're not, button pushers or lever pullers. We're not going to the factory and working on the line. We are in positions where we can chart our course in whatever way that it makes sense for us. So what is your why today after going through what you've been through and coming out on the other end?
Good question.
I don't let you off with this bullshit podcast talk.
Tell me
we're going
your favorite
deep.
color.
Yeah, we're going deep here on the Hunting Collective. We always do.
I would say, looking back with hunting, looking at hunting as far as like a lifestyle and industry to dive into and to pursue, it's with hunting itself, it's become this connection-based thing for me where I'm so thankful that I had the upbringing that I did, and being able to understand the connection to the dirt and to the animals and to the chemical composition of everything, and like being so grounded, like going out and killing these animals, but then eating them and becoming like, not to sound too granola, but like becoming one with the land and like feeling that absolute connection. That's this primal thing that it's so hard to describe, but I'm so thankful for of feeling that and seeing that and knowing that I've got that connection to the earth and how that makes me feel mentally and like how fulfilled I become with that. And it's just this, man, it's not like a loss for words of how to describe it. But
that's probably a good thing. That's probably the best way to describe it. You get the loss for words. But yeah, I mean, it's just going out there, and it's fulfillment is an incredible way to describe it that I can see, and just becoming, it's like, it's been kicked around the office here, but it's true. It's becoming a better person because of it. Yeah. And that's what I'm looking for in life. And sitting around last winter with my brother while we were chasing whitetails and just kicking back on the sofa and watching MeatEater and just like having conversations about what Steve's talking about, and know that like I'm pushing forward in this realm, and then having it all come like circle to being here in the office and working with you and Steve and being a part of these conversations I'm so happy to be here. Yeah. Well, we're happy to have you. No, I think that's important. And there's a big part of me that's like, it's just a regular dude. And there's this big part of me that's wonders why I can't just get on a podcast and talk about calibers and like
let's talk about 7 mil or 6.5.
Goddamn, man. I'm a Jack O'Connor fan. 30-06, baby.
Nice.
But yeah, I mean, I think there's part of me that wonders why that, and there's a part of me that is honestly and openly wondering whether trying to balance like the virtue signaling that can go on. It's like just saying the right thing because that gets the best reaction.
Yep.
But then really truly believing what I'm saying or what I'm writing. And so I think that's, in this day and age, essentially the struggle that we all have to go through to make sure we're openly and honestly delivering our message in a way that the best way that we can. Not everybody's going to like it. You really can't change your why for someone else, but really make sure your why is true and honest and not just some semblance of talking points that
the advertisers are paying for.
Yeah, or this company came up with even.
Yeah.
Or like you said, something that you post on social media and everybody really likes. That can't then become your thing.
Yeah.
You have to sit down and decide what you want to do and then go and do it and hope it works for everyone else. And in the case of, editors at a company like this one, really hope everybody takes to it. Doesn't think you're full of shit. Doesn't think you're an idiot.
Yeah.
And some folks, Steve's really great at just being Steve, man, and not letting anybody else in that would wreck that. And
that's a huge piece of why I was so eager to jump on board, is because of the truth, and like not chasing bullshit of what needs to be said for this or that. It's truth and story and character and just like the whole psychology of it all.
Yeah, it's a hell of an opportunity too to get down to communicate with everybody that likes to do what we like to do and make them better. They make us better, and that's what really like content should be about. I think. I'm pretty sure.
We're gonna try it anyways.
I'm betting on it. I'm betting that it's true. Yep. I'm betting that you and I could sit in this little room here with these dogs and shoot the shit and talk about, sometimes talk about what calibers are the best, but a lot of times talk about like how we can, take other folks that are in this company that are creating content and shape them in a way that makes sense.
Yeah.
Right. And tell them, hey, look, let's make sure we go back to our why every once in a while. And then re-examine what we're doing this for and why we're doing the creating content. And yeah, man, got to make money, but we're not here to sell widgets.
Yeah, or snake oil.
Yeah, or snake oil. We're here to inform and educate and entertain people and do it in a way that's honest and do those things in the public forum where we're putting our shit out there.
Yep.
And hoping that people like to click on it. So please, everybody, we're begging you.
We need to feed the puppies.
Oh, the puppies are hungry. They're sleeping right now.
Yep, they've been sleeping through this whole podcast.
They don't even care. I love them, dude. They come in here. Pinion comes in here and just rolls right on the concrete and just goes to sleep. Yeah. And then all the ladies of the office make cooing noises and pet him, and he loves that shit too, as all dogs do. He's got it dialed in, man. He's got the life. He's 6 months old, right?
Just about 6.5 months old.
6.5 months old.
Yep.
Well done. And every office needs a dog like that. I'm glad we have one.
Yeah.
So what are you looking forward to, MeatEater Inc. wise, now that I'm glad everybody that listens to this podcast hopefully can get to, introduced to you and who you are and what you're about and start to read your stuff and experience the content you're going to be able to create. But like, what's the thing you look forward to?
The thing that I like chasing are the characters, like the folks that are out there, the unknown stories of just some very eccentric individual and their life and what that looks like, and a deeper look into it and into their why. And that's always been something that I've been fascinated with and have done a little bit here and there, and definitely hoping that I can jump into that here.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we're part of the same generation, and I would say, what generation are we? Generation X, Y, Z?
We're X.
Are we X?
Yeah.
We're millennials, dude.
Yeah, we're at the very beginning stage of that.
Yeah, we're like early on millennials.
Yeah.
I think our millennial generation that we're a part of is a lot about themselves, like a lot about me. Not even a selfish me, but just that's kind of the content you see on social media. It's like turn that camera around and point towards you. Yeah, that's the deal, right? That's what people do. So I agree with you on. I'm not downing anybody who likes to turn the camera on themselves. That's totally fine.
Yeah.
Awesome. And in many aspects, it's freaking awesome. But I'm with you, man. My journalistic tendencies and that part of my mind is excited to explore, with a bigger platform that we can all share, explore some of those people. I've been able to, even through the short time of this podcast, talk to like rabbit hunters from Maryland and coyote hunters from Texas and Kodiak bear guides and freaking famous Australian dudes and just Steve Ranella, CEOs of huge corporations, like all kinds of stuff. Yeah. And it's not that they're all one type of guest, but they're just interesting people with their own stories to tell. And all those stories kind of are grounded in hunting and what hunting's about for all these people. And hopefully you learn something along the way with that. So
yeah.
Happy to add you into that group of people.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't think, it's important that when you start creating content for this company and you head out to Kansas that people know everything about your life, but it's good for them to have some background on who you are.
Little idea
of what's rattling around in your old brain there. Good. Kansas.
Yep.
You gonna kill a big whitetail? You guys got any like trail cam images of giant bucks?
We don't have any trail cam images. We got my brother's down there. He lives there, and he's had eyes, or has been told from a family friend of a decent 160 class that's running around that we're gonna try and get after.
That's nice.
Yeah.
You guys hunting field edges? What's the situation there?
A little bit more timber.
Yeah.
I mean, everything is kind of field edges there. There's just strips of timber running through, little creek bottoms and that stuff. But it's definitely borderlined with ag everywhere.
I got to tell you, I don't know, how many whitetail tags have I eaten in Kansas? Like 5 of them, something like that. I've never killed a whitetail in Kansas that I can remember. Oklahoma, sure. Texas, great.
The word's gotten out on Kansas. Those whitetails are getting pressured.
Yeah, man.
For sure. And they know how to become ghosts.
I feel like I've hunted all around that state and never had any luck with whitetails for whatever reason. I don't know why.
Yeah, my brother got a really nice one last year, a thick body. I mean, he shot a horse of a whitetail.
A whitetail's still my favorite thing, man.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, something about... I mean, we live in Montana. This place is a paradise for going outside.
Yeah.
I mean, a freaking paradise.
Yep.
There's always something going on. People that live here are so fucking spoiled.
It's a good place to be. That's very much part of why I wanted to be here, too.
Yeah. I mean, it's a gluttony of outside things to do. But for whatever reason, sitting in the timber and hearing that and knowing
it's coming up. 9 times out of 10, it's a squirrel walking up on you. But
I hate squirrels for that reason.
Yeah.
Or a raccoon or a doe.
Yep.
Anything what you're actually there to shoot. But yeah.
You can visually see your chest pocket like bouncing out of your chest because your heart rate's going up.
But and I've killed lots of deer in that scenario, and still to this day, that's the moment. Last year I hunted Iowa and Illinois. I killed a buck in Iowa with John Dudley, and I'd spent most of the year hunting in all these crazy places, but he filmed me, and when I shot this deer, it wasn't like some 200-inch buck. I mean, it was barely 150. I look like, those stand pots when I used to shoot those whitetails. one eye fishing, one eye cutting bait. That's what I look like. I was looking up at Dudley, holy shit. And it was just a archery buck that I shot, and it wasn't, I said it wasn't any giant that anybody would have been overly impressed by. But for whatever reason, that experience every time freaking makes me go nuts.
Yeah.
I can't. It's probably just because of how I grew up. So you get to go do it, you bastard.
Yep. Yeah, and like the great part about where I grew up is it's a little wildlife mecca down in Wakefield, Kansas. There's a little river that comes in called the Republican River.
Don't tell everybody where it is.
Everybody knows. There's a huge lake there too, and so we've got amazing waterfowl hunting there as well.
Oh, that's awesome.
It's no Cheyenne Bottoms by any means, but it's a great little refuge.
Yeah, man, there's a lot there.
We got upland, we got whitetail, waterfowl.
Yep. There's that culture, that Midwestern culture is one that I enjoy a shit ton.
Yeah.
Because it's really that just back 40 buddies farm, everybody get together, communal type of life. I mean, it's the same here, but it's just you got to walk a lot further.
Yeah, and it's something special back there for me because I had 2 sets of great-grandparents in that town growing up.
Oh, wow.
And so our family just knew everybody. It's a small town, and so it's just, you want to go hunt that field? You want to go hunt that field? Absolutely.
What's your family say about your new gig / life in Montana? Because when I go home, I get like certain comments.
I mean, my dad is just like, nice, cool.
Oh, yeah, really? Yeah. Well, that probably means like, yes.
Yeah. No, last year he's just like, you're telling me you get to go hunt and fish for work, you son of a bitch.
It's like, I'm your son.
Yep.
That doesn't make any sense.
Yep.
Yeah, my dad, early in my career, my dad would say shit like that, but now he's just like malaise. He's like, oh yeah, another hunt there, huh? That's great for you. Congratulations.
Yeah, so he's pretty pumped about it. Mom's happy for me.
Just like do like aunts and uncles, be like, who's this Stephen Ranulli?
Tell me about him.
He's on the Netflix. He's crazy.
Yeah,
that's what I get. Like my dad calls. Well, no, my dad I think corrected it. Ranelli is like
Ranelli, nice.
That's Ranelli. Steve Ranelli. I'm surprised it's not like Scott Ranelli. But yeah, my mom will say that. Is Ranelli? Is Ranelli there? Is he in the office? The Ranelli?
Can you see him
from the TV? Like, yes, Mom.
Yeah. I got a lot of buddies asking me, what's he like? What's he like? What's he like off the camera? Tell me about him.
You should just make stories up. Oh, man. Rarely, if ever, wears a shirt.
He's got a 175 a beam, and he just walks around the office.
Oh, tattoos? I mean, full tattoos. You don't notice on the TV show. Yeah. Full tattoos. They just put makeup over the face tattoos on Netflix. Well, that's good, man. I'm glad you're going home.
Yeah.
Enjoy that. Hopefully everybody can tune in or read or watch the content you're going to create for our company.
Be doing a little bit all of that for sure.
Enjoy all of that. Yeah. And now and in the future too. So click on the old MeatEater.com and there you'll find me and Morgan and Kenyon and Ranella and Vokey and a whole bunch of other talented folks in the months, hopefully years to come. If we're good at what we do.
Let's do more than months.
Please, years to come. So thanks for following along as we build this and appreciate you sharing your story, dude.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Yep. That's it. That's all. Episode number 35 in the books. Thanks to Morgan. Thanks to Arlo and Pinion, the two pups, for hanging out for a great podcast on an awesome day in the MeatEater offices here in Bozeman. And so hopefully you enjoyed that story. I know I did. Hopefully you can take your time to read Morgan's articles on the MeatEater.com and follow along with his journey as he starts to create content for us and tell his story and give all of you a little insight into his expertise and his life as a hunter, angler, and a person who enjoys going outside. So until next time, please go to the MeatEater.com, as we said, and go to the Listen tab. And there you'll find this podcast, all its episodes. You'll find all of the MeatEater episodes, of course. It goes without saying, but you'll also find Mark Kenyon, Wired to Hunt. You will find Anchored with April Vokey. And you'll find a shit ton of articles to read about wild foods, about conservation, and about hunting and fishing, and how to be better at all of it. And so, if that's not enough, if you still need more stuff to do, go and sign up for the newsletter, the MeatEater newsletter. It comes out every Wednesday morning, and it is all things MeatEater related. So for now, that's all I have, but that should keep you busy until next Tuesday when we'll be back with another episode of this here podcast. So thank you for joining. We'll see you then. Bye.
You ever get that feeling the walls closing in, the concrete jungle suffocating you? You crave some wide open spaces, the chance to connect with nature, maybe in a spot all your own. Well, head over to land.com. They've got ranches, forests, mountains, streams, you name it. Search by acreage. You can search by location. You can search by the kind of hunting and fishing you're dreaming of. Land.com. It is where the adventure begins. Hey guys, turkey season is in full swing right now, and if you are planning on getting after it, make sure to pick up some MeatEater Phelps turkey calls to stuff into the old turkey vest or into your fanny pack right now. I carry a few different things. I like to use mouth calls, and I like to use pot calls. Mouth calls or diaphragms, I like them because it gives you hand-free calling, meaning when you're working a bird up close, you can have your gun on your knee, finger on the trigger, ready to roll, and still be making turkey sounds. I like pot calls. I just like pot calls. I enjoy calling with a pot call. Whatever direction you go, including a box call, which I don't personally use too much, but they're fun and great, and I started out with them. Yanni, on the other hand, one of my main turkey hunting buddies, he loves box calls. And what's funny is I'll now and then look to him and give him the look that means get out your box call and find us a turkey. So it's not that I don't like them. I just have Yanni use his. Then I don't have to carry it. Go to Phelps Game Calls. Get calls that are made in the USA and get calls that'll get them close. Find yours at phelpsgamecalls.com today.